In Willowbell, Bramble the fox had a habit of noticing the quietest kind things. He noticed when Mrs. Maple from the turning page left a wrapped ginger biscuit on the back step for the delivery driver who never paused long enough for tea. He noticed when Luna the kitten moved a stool into the patch of sun that Nora liked best, pretending it had been there all along. He noticed when Pip the duckling tied a blue ribbon around a basket that looked as if it had endured a difficult morning and deserved to feel cheerful again. Bramble noticed these things because he was a baker, not the booming sort who liked flour in the air and loud greetings at dawn. Bramble was a soft-voiced baker with cinnamon on his sleeves and a habit of packing one extra bun into every basket, just in case the day turned out to need it. He believed towns were built from ordinary kindness repeated so often that it began to feel like weather. And in Willowbell, one of the kindest pieces of weather was Junie the hedgehog. Junie lived in a little moss-green cottage near the pond, where the front path curved around pots of mint and moonflowers and the windows glowed pale gold long before supper. She was the one who remembered whose scarf had blown from the bridge rail, which soup needed more time, and when Mrs. Maple's reading lamp started flickering at the bookshop window, she wrote tidy little labels for market jars, tucked folded encouragement notes beneath teacups, and somehow made every task in town seem slightly less lonely simply by appearing beside it. That week, Junie had been helping nearly everyone. On Monday she stayed late at the bakery to label the blackberry jam jars after Bramble smudged the first set with floury paws. On Tuesday she helped Hazel sort invitation cards for the Moonlight story gathering by the pond. On Wednesday she walked all the way to Clover Lane with Milo because he was carrying 3 loaves, 2 blankets, and too much optimism to see where he was stepping. By Thursday evening, Bramble noticed something the others had not yet said aloud. Junie was tired, not unhappy, not cross, just the particular kind of tired that made a smile arrive half a second late, as if it had farther to travel than usual. He noticed it when she came into the bakery at sunset to pick up the little honey twists she had promised for the Moonlight story gathering. She set an empty basket on the counter and gave him her usual warm smile. "Everything smells like comfort in here," she said. "That is the official bakery policy," Bramble replied. Junie laughed softly, but when she reached for the basket handle she paused and pressed one paw to the counter. Bramble tilted his head. "Long day?" he asked. Junie let out a tiny breath. "Only a full one." She tried to say it lightly, though her quills looked a little drooped around the edges. Bramble packed the honey twists with careful, quiet hands. "Hazel told me you lettered all the place cards for tonight, and the thank you tags," Junie said, "and the little note cards for the story basket, and I still want to tie moonflower stems around the lantern posts before everyone arrives. It is all small, lovely work, but somehow the small lovely work grew elbows and began taking up the whole afternoon." Bramble smiled. "That happens." Junie looked down at the basket. "I wanted tonight to feel soft for everyone. Hazel has planned the stories beautifully. Milo promised blankets. Luna brought extra candles. Pip has probably tied ribbon onto objects that did not even know they needed ribbon. I thought if I added a thank you note to every neighbor's place, it would feel like the town was tucking everyone in before the stars came out." "That sounds exactly like you," Bramble said. Junie's smile returned, smaller now. "The trouble is that I meant to rest before the gathering. Instead I still have the notes to finish, the moonflowers to carry, and the lantern strings to check near the pond. If I sit down for even a moment, I'm worried I might not get up again until morning." Bramble slid the basket toward her. "Then perhaps the town can survive one evening without perfect tags." Junie tucked a loose curl behind one ear. "Perhaps," she said, but her voice carried the doubtful sound of someone who had already promised too much to her own heart. When she left, Bramble wrapped 2 extra honey twists in paper and slipped them into the side pocket of her basket. Then he stood at the bakery window and watched her take the path toward the pond, moving a little more slowly than usual. By the time he locked the door, he had made up his mind. He carried the last tray of rolls to the back room, untied his apron, and headed straight for the turning page, where the evening helpers were gathering before sunset. Mrs. Maple was arranging a stack of storybooks on the front table. Hazel the bunny was checking names against her Moonlight gathering list. Milo sat on the rug trying very hard not to step on a folded blanket. Luna was adjusting a tiny brass candle tray in the window. Pip, naturally, was tying a blue ribbon around the handle of the story basket. Bramble did not waste time. "Junie is too tired," he said. Everyone looked up. Hazel's ears tipped back with immediate concern. "How tired?" "The sort where she will still do every kind thing she planned," Bramble said, "but only by borrowing tomorrow's strength." Luna set down the candle tray. "That is not borrowing. That is overspending." Pip clutched the story basket. "Oh dear." Milo stood so fast the blanket nearly slid off his knee. "We must help her." Hazel was already opening her notebook. "What remains on her list?" Bramble told them. "The unfinished thank you notes, the moonflower stems, the lantern posts by the pond, the basket of honey twists, the gathering itself." Mrs. Maple's expression softened. "Junie would never say she wants rescuing." "Then we should not rescue her loudly," Luna said. "We should do it quietly enough that it still feels like rest." That was when Pip had the idea, or perhaps the idea had Pip. With him it was often hard to tell. His bill parted in a little gasp. "The old message boat." Mrs. Maple blinked. "The what?" "In the back cupboard," Pip said, already spinning toward the hallway. "The tiny pond boat from last autumn's lantern walk. The one with the shallow basket in the middle for flower petals. We could turn it into a thank you boat. Finish Junie's notes for her, light a little lantern, and float the messages across the stepping stones to the island path. She always takes the quiet pond route when she's tired. We could bring the gathering to her instead of making her walk all the way to us." Milo's tail thumped the floor. "A Moonlight message boat." Hazel wrote the words down immediately. "This is workable." Bramble felt something warm ease in his chest. "And if the first thing Junie sees is a little boat full of thank you notes, she may understand that the town has noticed her too." Mrs. Maple smiled. Then let us behave like a proper village and make it happen before someone noble tries to stop us. The next hour became the gentlest kind of bustle. Hazel sorted the unfinished tags and set out a fresh stack of cards. She copied Junie's tidy list of neighbors into columns so nothing would be missed. Luna rewrote the notes in a graceful silver-gray hand, keeping the messages short and sincere. Thank you for the porch light. Thank you for carrying the apples. Thank you for the library bench. Thank you for making the town feel steadier today. Pip found the tiny message boat in the storage cupboard, polished its little brass handle, and tied ribbons to the side so it looked festive but not fussy. Milo gathered moonflower stems and soft clover from the back garden, carrying them so carefully that even Hazel looked impressed. Mrs. Maple packed miniature ginger biscuits in folded paper twists to tuck beside the notes. Bramble returned to the bakery for one final task. He brought back a warm cinnamon bun with a little paper flag tucked into the icing. On the flag he had written, in small careful letters, for Junie, before she does one more thing for anyone else. By the time the church clock chimed 7, the moon had risen pale above the pond, and Willowbell was beginning to glow. Lanterns swung from branches. Candle jars lined the path. The water held a long ribbon of silver moonlight that shivered whenever the breeze passed over it. But Junie was nowhere near the story blankets. Hazel checked the path once, twice, and then looked toward Bramble. She must have taken the island route, she said quietly. The island was a tiny round patch of grass in the middle of the pond, reached by stepping stones and used only when someone wanted a little silence. Junie sometimes went there with sketch paper when the town felt busy in the best possible way. Tonight, with her basket of unfinished plans, it was exactly where she would go. So the friends carried the Moonlight message boat to the water's edge. Pip settled the notes into the center basket. Luna tucked the ginger biscuits around them so they would not slide. Milo placed the cinnamon bun in the safest corner and whispered, "Travel bravely." Hazel checked the ribbon knots. Bramble lit the little lantern in the middle until the boat glowed like a cupped firefly. Mrs. Maple stood beside them with her green scarf gathered at her throat. "Steady now," she said. "Let the water do the carrying." They lowered the boat into the pond. For a moment it bobbed in place, lantern shining softly, moonflowers brushing the dark water. Then it began to drift. Across the narrow pond it went, past the first stepping stone, then the second, then the third, drawing a trembling gold line on the water behind it. On the island, a small figure looked up. Junie had been sitting on the grass with her basket beside her, one paw resting on a half-finished note card. Her shoulders were folded inward with tiredness, and for a second she seemed too surprised even to move. The lantern boat floated closer. Junie rose slowly to her feet. She read the top card first. "Thank you for always making room for everyone else," it said. Then the second. "Tonight the town made room for you." By then the friends on the shore could see her press one paw lightly to her mouth. Milo gave a hopeful wiggle. Pip almost cried immediately, which for Pip was not unusual in a meaningful lighting situation. Hazel stood very still, notebook clasped to her chest. Luna's whiskers softened. Bramble kept his eyes on Junie and the little lantern glow by her paws. Junie lifted the cinnamon bun next. Even across the water, they could tell she had seen the tiny paper flag. She laughed then, a small, tired, astonished laugh that sounded as if it had been waiting all day for permission. Bramble called across the pond, not loudly, just enough. "You are not required to finish anything else tonight." Junie looked toward the shore. All her friends were there in the lantern light. Mrs. Maple with her scarf, Hazel with her lists, Luna quiet and steady, Pip with both wings clasped under his beak, Milo all hope and heartbeat, Bramble with flowers still faintly on one sleeve. The island breeze lifted Junie's quills. "I meant to come," she called back. "You already did enough," Hazel answered. "We brought the rest," Milo added. Pip cupped his wings around his bill. "Also biscuits." That made Junie laugh again, brighter now. She looked down at the little message boat, at the moonflowers, at the notes she had wanted so badly to finish herself. Then she said the simplest, truest thing. "I think," she called softly. "I was trying so hard to thank everyone that I forgot to let anyone be kind back." Mrs. Maple nodded toward the stepping stones. "A common village mistake." So Junie tucked the notes into her basket, picked up the cinnamon bun, and stepped carefully from stone to stone as the lantern boat drifted alongside her like a patient little moon. When she reached the shore, Milo bounded forward and stopped just in time to remember gentleness. Hazel took Junie's basket. Luna slipped the warmest blanket around her shoulders. Pip presented the ginger biscuits as if conducting a ceremony. Bramble offered the crook of his arm, and Junie leaned against it for one grateful second before standing straight again. No one rushed her toward the story blankets. Instead they made a small quiet place at the edge of the gathering under the willow branches. Mrs. Maple read the first story in her gentlest reading voice. The moonflowers opened one by one. The neighbors found the thank you notes tucked beside their cups and lantern jars. One after another they smiled, looked toward Junie, and understood. By the end of the evening, every thank you note had found a home. But that was not the part Willowbell remembered most. What the town remembered was the boat. The tiny moonlit boat that crossed the pond carrying kindness back toward the one who had spent all week giving it away. After the last candle was blown out, Pip declared that the message boat should never be packed away again. Hazel suggested keeping a small box of note cards with it. Luna proposed that it come out whenever someone had helped too much, worried too quietly, or forgotten that rest could also be a gift. Milo thought this was one of the best traditions Willowbell had ever invented. Mrs. Maple said that was a strong statement from someone who had once tried to nominate cinnamon toast as a civic ritual. Bramble simply looked at Junie. She was sitting beneath the willow, blanket around her shoulders, moonflower tucked beside her basket, no longer trying to hold the whole evening together by herself. She looked rested enough to smile from the inside, and when she met Bramble's eyes, she gave him the kind of smile that said she had understood everything he had hoped without needing it explained. From then on, the Moonlight message boat stayed on the top shelf at the turning page, ready for service. Sometimes it carried soup cards to a neighbor with a cold. Sometimes it carried welcome notes to someone new on Clover Lane. Once it carried 3 apology biscuits and a ribbon after Nora and Pip disagreed about the proper decorative responsibilities of a wheelbarrow. But no matter what it carried, it always meant the same thing. You have done enough for tonight. Come sit with us now. And in Willowbell, that was one of the kindest messages a little boat could ever bring.